Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Want to go ahead and actually talk a little bit of college hoops recruiting. And yes, if you listen to this channel, you have heard me say this line time and time again over the last couple weeks, but it is crazy to watch this 2025 recruiting cycle unfold. It felt like in late August, early September, mid-September, late September, I had fans from every fan base in America. Torres, my school doesn't have a commit. What does it mean? Why isn't it? Whatever. And I bring it up because over the last few weeks, player after player after player has come off the board. And just moments ago, one of the best remaining players uncommitted did just come off the board. And that player is Meleek Thomas, 6'4" guard, originally from the city of Pittsburgh, now playing at Overtime Elite, which is an academy down in the Atlanta area. A few days ago, Meleek Thomas officially cut his list down to 3, the hometown school in Pitt, UConn, and Arkansas. And just moments ago, Meleek Thomas, 6'4" guard, originally from Pittsburgh, now at Overtime Elite. He commits to the Arkansas Razorbacks, baby. And with that, I just got one question. Can anything stop the Big Pig Invasion? Can anything stop the Big Pig Invasion? That is right. John Calipari with his second 5-star commitment in the class of 2025. Call it a strong hunch. I don't think the Hogs, I don't think John Calipari is done. By the way, you can get that t-shirt. You want to support the show at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. But let's get into this kid. Let's get into the recruitment. Meleek Thomas is officially an Arkansas Razorback. Arkansas, you got a good one. We'll dive into him in a minute. First of all, I think it is worth noting because I know a lot of people are going to ask, this commitment, this decision, it is not a surprise, okay? And it is not to say that there aren't other good schools, other good opportunities, but everything has been trending the way of Arkansas, really, in my opinion, in this recruitment for the last couple months. I've said it a few times. I think early in the recruitment, actually, I think UConn felt like they were in pretty good shape. Over the summer, Dan Hurley interviewed for the Los Angeles Lakers job, feels like a million years ago. And we talked about it at the time on the show. Meleek Thomas was the vocal recruit that said, hey, if my coach, the coach that I could play for is interviewing for an NBA job, that actually makes me want to play for him more, okay? But as time went on, UConn kind of faded. A few weeks ago, they actually took a commitment from a guard named Darius Adams. I believe that essentially eliminated Meleek Thomas. I don't believe that really Pitt was ever a serious contender. And let me take it a step further. I think some of John Calipari's best work in this recruitment was getting Meleek Thomas not only to campus, but then conversely, convincing him, or I don't know if John Calipari convinced him, but the fact that Meleek Thomas took a visit to Arkansas and canceled a couple other really marquee visits, okay? So Meleek Thomas visited Arkansas, first of all, for the Tennessee game. That's a big win in and of itself. They say luck is where preparation meets opportunity. Well, there was a little luck involved there because you had him on campus for the Tennessee game, biggest win for the football team in a very long time. So Meleek Thomas gets to see what that Arkansas fan base is about, how much they love their Hogs, all that good stuff. But also, some of John Calipari's best work, if he had anything to do with it, was the defense in keeping Meleek Thomas off other campuses as well. Was supposed to visit Alabama for their big football recruiting weekend, which was the Georgia game in late September. Meleek Thomas never went. Also was supposed to visit Kansas State a few weeks ago, excuse me. He never went to Kansas State. And so listen, you don't have to be a recruiting expert. You just do a little what they call mental math. Did visit Arkansas, didn't visit Bama, didn't visit K-State, and he ends up a Hog. And so Arkansas has their second commit in this class. As far as the player that Meleek Thomas is, I really like his game. I really do. And listen, let me say this. If John Calipari, the Hall of Famer, likes you, if Dan Hurley, the 2-time national championship coach, likes you, you know that you're a heck of a player, and that is exactly who Meleek Thomas is. 6'4", really a 3-level scorer, really good at attacking the rim, has a nice mid-range game, strong finisher at the rim. And I think the 3-point shot is really improving. As I said, he's playing at Overtime Elite right now. It's one of these prep academies. And what stands out to me is that really is that the stats coming out of their early stuff that they're doing there at Overtime Elite is that the stats seem to reflect it, that 3-point shot is improving. So 3-level scorer. We know that Calipari likes to put the ball in his guard's hands. Just ask Boogie Flan right now how that's working out for him. Boogie Flan has been pretty good so far as a Razorback. And what I think is interesting is Arkansas, now has 2 5-star commits at the guard position, one in Darius Acuff and one in Meleek Thomas. And a question that I got early, maybe not so much now. By the way, yes, I almost did say Kentucky. Forgive me. But I'm going to talk about some of Cal's former teams at Kentucky and how I think Meleek Thomas and Darius Acuff kind of fit. Because I think a lot of schools, a lot of teams would say, do those two players fit well together? And the answer, in my opinion, is yes. And the good thing for Cal, you don't have to question, how is the relationship? Do they think they can play together? How would they work? You know why? Because Darius Acuff was on campus the same weekend that Meleek Thomas was a few weeks ago for the Tennessee football game. And so if you don't think they get along and they're excited to play together, just go back and look at the pictures from that weekend. They're ready to play together. And I think their games really complement each other as well. Darius Acuff, to me, is really an on-the-ball guard. I think he's going to do his best work attacking the rim, finishing at the rim, getting others involved. And I think Meleek Thomas can be an on-the-ball guard, but I think he's actually better a little bit off the ball. And so I bring that up because when I said, I mentioned a minute ago, but some of Cal's former teams at Kentucky, who this reminds me of? And Arkansas fans, I don't mean to pour salt in a wound. This kind of reminds me of actually the year that Cal had De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk. Of course, we all know his history with Arkansas. But that's who these two remind me of. And when you go back and you look at those teams, De'Aaron Fox was the kind of the guy with the ball in his hands, making plays, whatever. And Malik Monk was the guy that could handle the ball in a pinch, but more played off the ball, was the scorer. I was at a game where Malik Monk had 49 points against North Carolina in Vegas. And so I just bring it up because Cal has a history of being able to play two primary playmaking guards together. You could go back to John Wall and Eric Bledsoe a few years ago. Go back to last year. DJ Wagner, Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepherd. That was a team that finished second in the SEC and ended up with a 3 seed in the tournament. So Cal is going to figure it out. Cal will find a way. I'm excited to watch these two play together. And lastly, I would add, I'm excited to see who Cal closes this recruiting class with. Because if you know one thing about Coach Cal, he ain't done. Okay. And I do think it's a little bit of a different era. I think he's been very vocal about, probably 3 to 4, maybe 5 freshmen is the absolute most he would take. But I think 3 to 4 is kind of what he's looking for. And then he'll back through the portal. He'll backfill with players that might return for another season. We know that a kid like Billy Richmond probably isn't going to be a one and done. We'll see about some of the other players that are currently in the program. But I just bring it up because Cal is still very much in the mix for some of the best players in this 2025 class. I think it's interesting. Chris Sinak Jr., depending on who you listen to, there are all sorts of reports on where Arkansas stands with him and really where anyone stands with him. 6'11", originally from the New Orleans area, now playing at Link Academy in Missouri. And I'll tell you, you read one report, came off a visit from LSU. LSU people think they're in very good shape for Chris Sinak. You hear reports that maybe Tennessee's getting in the mix. But also, I've talked to people around Arkansas. I think they feel good about where they stand with that kid. As I'm recording here on the 11th of November, there is no official word yet on if he's set a commitment date or if he plans to commit anytime soon or whatever. But Arkansas is very much in the mix with him, in the mix with a couple other kids. Deshaun, I want to say is his name Abayev. I apologize that I'm not doing very good with that name right there. But I think everybody knows who I'm talking about. Wing player. He is playing right now in Florida. That's another player that Arkansas has been pursuing. But I don't think it's going to be a huge class. But what I do know is that if you got a player that's going to be an X factor, I think Cal and Arkansas are going to go after them. So we can, revisit this if Chris Sinak ends up a Razorback, if somebody else ends up a Razorback. But I'll tell you what, you talk about a hot start to the 2025 recruiting class, 2 commitments, both 5 stars. By the way, I saw this stat. I'd give credit. I just saw it online. I apologize for not quoting whoever said it. But I believe that if you include last year's recruits, I believe Arkansas, 3 of the top 5 commitments in the history of the program in the recruiting rankings era have come under Cal. So Cal is getting his dudes, Cal is getting his players, and credit where it's due. Arkansas has landed Meleek Thomas. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. By the way, make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel, but also make sure to get your Big Pig Invasion tee, AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise.